The first question, what are the different types of integration you have handled in your previous project? Okay. Now, different types of integrations are, it's a people perception. Like, someone just consider EIB, core connector, and a studio. These are the only types of integration, but it's not like that. Okay. You will be able to integration means communication between two systems, right? Basically, two systems are connected. So your RAS is also a integration, custom report, which is enabled as a web service, then public web services, then EIB, core connector, and then Workday Studio integrations. Okay, Workday Studio you don't know, web services you have not, you have not seen much. So I would say if someone is asking, then you can mention like I have previously I have been working on RAS, EIB, and core connectors mainly, and there were studio integrations as well. But I'm in learning phase for Workday Studio integration. So I have not created any, but somewhat I know Workday Studio. I mean, you have to gather information of Workday Studio before telling that. Otherwise, don't mention Workday Studio, because if you mention, they are going to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, understood.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever you have learned, and also I would say, like, if you get access of Workday Studio, then I would say, like, you try to explore by yourself how the Workday Studio looks like, what are the components we have in Workday Studio, the basic one basic integration of Workday Studio. So let's say, if someone you have mentioned Workday Studio, and they say like what exactly you have done in Workday Studio. When you will explain one of the integration of Workday Studio from end to end, they will get the entire confidence of integration. Okay, because to be honest, in EIB core connector, if you ask me, there is nothing much which people have to remember and people have to do. Okay, those are the stepwise things. But still, some people get issues in those topics as well. So I would say when someone is asking this question to you, at that point of time, wherever you are comfortable, you mention everything. If you have used Workday Studio, Workday Web Services, you mention that as well. If you know at least one or two Workday Studio integration end to end, then you mention Workday Studio as well. Okay. The next question, when is an EIB preferred and when is studio integration preferred? Okay. So this is a good question.
I'll
So
try to
basically,
answer it actually. So
hmm,
for studio, you told that very complicated and multiple workings
multiple
which we
sources, multiple
have in,
files.
yeah, which requires studio. Other than that, we can prefer EAB itself.
So basically, if you have a very straightforward requirement, okay, then see, ideally, you should expose information from web services. But let's say if someone is asking file from Workday, okay. Now, if someone is asking file from Workday, if that is a very simple requirement, you can go with EIB. And before you go with EIB, you need to understand whether the change detection is required or not. Wherever you understand change detection is required, you have to prefer core connector integration. Okay. If there is a template in core connector integration, you should be using core connector integrations. Okay. Now, if there is no core connector template for your requirement, then you can prefer for EIB if that is a simple requirement. Now, if there is a complicated requirement, like you have to get the data from multiple sources, you need to do a lot of validations, a lot of transformation. You need to call APIs. You need to generate a lot of files. You need to track. You need to call some other system APIs. Okay, then you are going to use Workday Studio integration. Workday Studio integration is a very powerful tool. You can do anything in Workday Studio integration. When you will learn Workday Studio integration, now you will feel very highly confident in integration. Then you will be able to answer everything.
Okay. So when actually the core connector you mentioned?
Change detection, mostly for change detection, or mostly for the data which the other system is asking, which you can generate from the template. So let's say you already have a template, and the requirement, whatever the requirement you're getting, that requirement is fulfilled by using one of the template. Now, if that is fulfilled by using one of the template, you should prefer core connector integration. Okay, so this is actually a scenario based. Like what is your requirement? And based on your requirement, you are going to decide which integration should be used. Mostly when there is a chain detection and when you have the template, then core connector is by default should be used. Let's say if someone is asking to not deliver full file every day in worker profile, and if there is any transaction happening in worker profile, they just want to get those data, then you should be using core connector integrations. EIB is something where it's a simple one source of data that is a custom report, right? So if you have to generate file for very specific fields and it's a kind of full file, or even if it is a delta and all, if that is a simple requirement, you can just go with EIB.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what is a primary payroll integration? Okay. See, for payroll integration, we have so payroll integration. I would not mention here, but I just want to explain, uh, couple of things. For payroll integration, we have third-party payroll integration templates. Okay. Let's say Workday is a HR system. ADP is a payroll system. So from Workday to ADP, we can send data in multiple ways. Okay. One, we have certified connector with ADP, that is PG, payroll effective chain interface, and then we have Pickoff. Okay. Pickoff is actually payroll integration, which extract top of the stack of the data. Okay. Pickoff is a template which extract top of the stack of the data. PG is another template which used to send data to third-party payroll system, and PG is used when you have to track all the changes between after the last integration run. So all the changes that in, let's say yesterday integration ran, and in last 24 hour I have changed my details multiple times, 4 times, 5 times, something like that. And you want to track, you don't want to track only top of the stack, you want to track all those transactions. Then in those cases you should be using PG. Okay. Now, when you create PG integration, then there is one primary run. Okay, that is a different thing. It's not related to this particular question. I'm just, explaining something related to payroll integrations or, the payroll templates we have. Okay. What is a primary payroll integration? I don't know what exactly, this means. If someone asks you, then, you ask them to elaborate your question, what exactly you're trying to understand. Because if you want to understand in terms of template, yes, we have two templates. One is Pickoff and one is PG. Pickoff is used to extract top of the stack data. PG is used to extract all the effective sequence transactions data. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
got it.
So,
Yeah.
yep, yep. So, I mean, that kind of question never, I've never seen anyone is asking and all. This is a very old document. Maybe, this questions are still lies in this document. Now, what are the different core connector based integrations you have? Okay. So I have shown you two core connector integration. One is core connector worker and one is core connector position. Okay. Now, core connector worker is a widely used template, and even core connector position is also, sorry, widely used template. So you can mention like you have used core connector worker, core connector positions, and then also you have tenant access, right? So I would say you can explore core connector uh, organizations, core connector locations. Then you can also see payroll integration. You will not be able to practice fully, but you can try to create one integration using payroll interface template as well. Okay. So common, I mean, if they ask you, you just mention very limited template. Core connector worker, core connector positions, core connector organizations, and you can you can mention the details as well, like why you have worked much in core connector, because each and every system was expecting demographic data of workers, right? To extract the demographic data of worker, core connector is the best. Okay. Uh, they have enabled. Mm. Okay, that's fine. They have done something, but it's not going to work. Okay, anyways, where is your screen? Next question is, what are the different types of calculated fields you have? I think you know the answer, right? The calculated field functions, whatever we have discussed. And anyways, when you try create calculated field, then there you get
Yeah.
all the
Mhm.
functions. So you can
Yeah,
explain
yeah.
all those functions. Then some practical scenarios using custom reports and calculated fields.
Yeah, that's also easy, you
Yeah,
know.
you can answer. What are the runtime limitations of EIBs and studio integration? Here, I think this answer you will find in the document. Okay. I mean, for studio integration, it is 4 hours by default. Okay. And for EIB, I mean, when I use in the project, I do not see any limitation. But this is something you will find in the document. Okay. For studio integration, generally 4 hours is the limited time, runtime time. Okay. Then what are the various components of Studio Assembly? No, you will not, you have not seen Studio. What all web services have you used in your project? Ah, so basically when you will, when this question comes, what all web services have you used in your previous project?
Uh,
Then you don't know how to use web services, first of all. Mm, See, for web services, I will, uh, I'm not committing anything, but I will try to show you one or two web services how we can execute in Postman, so that at least you understand what how the request looks like and how the response look like.
okay, Manish.
Okay, so I'm not sure whether Cloud Foundation will allow, because that will be at headquarter. I mean, I'll check with them and then I'll try to show you. Because here, what all web services, there are some common web services you can mention, but when you mention, you should be able to understand like what are those web services. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say like, this is something maybe Dilip and Satir, you can remind, but we don't have tools here on the remote as well, which we will be able to use. Okay, I'll ask them to install. If they install, then I'll be able to show you guys. Okay.
Okay.
Then what is the concept of reference ID in Workday? So reference
Yeah,
ID,
that we know.
yeah,
Yeah.
what are the building blocks and EIB integration? Na, get data, transform and deliver.
Mm,
What are the different options available to a test document delivery configuration in Workday? So you have a test, basically you have a test transport, right? So you can test via test transport.
mm,
What are the different options? So different options, we have test transport. Other option in Workday there is, this is the only option. Maybe if there is any, I don't know, but test transport is the option which we use. Then have you developed and supported Workday integration in the last or 2 3 years? Yes, you have to mention something like you have supported a lot of integration and you have built a couple of integrations. Okay. Then you need to explain the integration as well. So for example, you can explain like you have you were implementing the integration between Workday to Concur, and between Workday to Concur they have asked some sort of fields. So fields like first name, last name, employee ID, one up manager, cost center, company. Okay, all these details they were asking to you now. And also they have mentioned like you don't need to generate full file all the time. They were ready to accept the delta. Okay, so for this project, you have created a core connector worker template integration, and in that you have configured the respective fields which they were looking for, and you created a core connector integration. Now, when you created a core connector integration, they were not able to consume data via the XML file, the default XML file. For that one, you had to convert into CSV format. To convert the data from XML file into CSV format, you have created another integration on template, document transformation. So basically that was DT. Okay. Now you linked core connector integration with DT. Now what was happening when you were creating the file in the core connector integration, it was passed to the DT integration, and DT integration was converting into CSV. And then you have configured the delivery in DT integration, which were delivering file to the SFTP location from where they were consuming the file. Understood. This is a requirement which I have explained in just 1 or 2 minutes, but you can elaborate this in a very longer way, and you can just consume 4 to 5 minutes on this one.
Okay.
Okay. Similarly, one or maybe couple of more more integrations you can explain. And as you have knowledge of finance, right? So you
Yeah.
understand. I mean, you also are integrating with multiple system, right?
Yeah.
The same finance also is not like everything Workday is maintaining. You are connected with one multiple system.
Yes.
Now you
We are integrating journals. We are just through the EAB. We are just posting journals as of
Yep.
now. Yeah.
So basically, you can explain that integration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Now, what are the different options available? Okay, no. Have you developed? Okay, now what types of Workday SCM applications have you worked? What type of Workday SCM applications have you worked? So basically, it's not a valid question. It should be Workday SCM modules. Okay. So for example, compensation, benefits, absence. On what are all the modules you have worked on? This is not a valid question. Now tell me about the types of integration you did on loss of this was I think earlier also there was one question similar to this. Describe the types of issues you deal with on a daily basis with different types of integrations and how did you implement the solution. So basically, I mean, I would say like, sometimes you're not getting the journal details correctly. Sometimes your integration is generating the warnings like, you have configured some validation. I was showing ETV, right? Where if the required number of, if name is having, let's say there is a validation you have mentioned, the number of characters should be 15, but the number of character is more than 15. Okay. So in those cases, your ATV, those ATs are going to, create some warning message, right? So those are the regular things you understand. Then, you can explain. Then also you can explain like, when you have configured the document delivery was not happening. And when you checked with your SFTP system people, then they mention like, okay, the servers was down, and that's the reason you were not able to access SFTP server, and you were not able to connect and place the file. Okay, there may be others, which you are already working into Workday uh, system. So you understand like when there is an integration, it may be sometimes you have received incorrect data. Sometimes you received the data in format which is not correct. Okay, there are many possibilities. Okay, so you can pick couple of complicated issues and you can explain them because they are not they will not be interested in all the issues. They will be interested in the issues which you can highlight, one or two complicated issues. Okay. Now, give me an example of an integration problem you had to solve. This is again related to the problem. Let's say you created a core connector integration, and in that core connector integration, uh, now you were extracting field from the integration field attributes, but also you created field override service. Okay. Now, when you created a field override service, there you have added many calculated field. Okay. Now, when your integration is running, then what you observed, one of the field is not giving the correct value, and there is another field which is not giving the value at all. Okay. So, and that is happening in production, but nobody noticed that. And, one day people notice and you got one ticket for that. Now, when you check and when you try, see, basically when you will get these issues, the first thing you're going to do is to visit integration event. In that integration event, check the file and see whether data is getting populated or not. If the data is not getting populated all the time for one particular field, then you have to check the security, whether you have provided enough security to the ISU or not. Okay. If you have provided enough security, then then you need to check the calculated field logic or the field which you have used. You need to check the logic, like why that is, that is not pulling the value. Okay. So you have got the issue, like the data is not properly coming or the data is not coming at all. Then there are two things. I mean, all these things you have done. And with this, you understood like for both the issues, security was not plotted properly. Okay. So where the field which is not showing the data anytime, when you check the security, then you found like the security is not added for this at all in the IS. If the security is not added, then the data will not come when it will be integrated. So that is one thing. And the second thing is you were getting, let's say you were extracting contract start date and contract end date of contractors. Now there is a scenario where one contractor has joined your company multiple times and left your company multiple times. Now in this case, you have a contract end date in your core connector worker. Now that contract end date is generating some value, but you are supposed to get the latest contract in date of the worker. Okay, and when your core connector is running, that is not generating the latest contract in date. Instead, it is just generating the contract in date of the last contract. Okay, now here, when you check, you understood, okay, the security is there, that is why you are getting the value, but the value is not coming correct. Okay, now you need to understand in that way from where this field is extracting the value. Contract in date is not a direct field. It is a field from the business process. Okay. Now, if you are using a field from business process, you have to provide the security of business process as well. Okay. As the security of business process was not provided, that contract in date field was not generating the correct value. I just gave one scenario. I mean, I understand, whatever I'm talking is a lot for you to process, like, what exactly this person is saying. But, you can listen this recordings, slowly. And then, you try to do those stuffs into Workday. And then if there is any question, we will talk about on Monday, on Tuesday and Friday. Okay. So I am just giving you the examples, some of the complicated examples, weird examples, production issues. So you can, take your time to explain. Interview will be of half an hour, in which 25 minutes you should be speaking. And you can just, decide the direction, like in which direction you have to take your interview. You just, you just create environment like the interview, you force interview to ask questions in the areas where you have the knowledge. Okay, and that is something you can do. It's an art. Okay, you can do. And whenever you explain anything, let's say they have asked any question, you deep dive into the question. You explain in a very conceptual way, so that they understand, like, this person doesn't know how to do it. This person also knows how exactly this is happening behind the scenes. Okay, basically everything. So, anyways, I mean, those are the things you need to groom. I have not discussed in that way with you guys, so I don't know you personally, but definitely, I mean, I would say like this is something you need to work on. Yep. Dilip, you want to say something?
Yeah, it's really helpful for the words you gave now. It's very helpful for us to perform an interview. Thank you.
Yep. I
Yeah.
mean, ideally, we should be doing in that way. Okay. See, I have given, I think, a lot of interviews in Workday. I have never got rejected in Workday. But the thing is not the problem was when someone was taking interview. I I understood, like, how much knowledge that person is having. Okay, and it was very helpful for me to divert the direction. Okay. And even right now, if people, they talk to me, I can, just put a lot of real time scenarios, right? But for you guys, it will not be that simple in the initial phase. Okay.
Yeah, true.
You have to build this thing. Okay.
Correct.
So whatever scenarios I'm talking about and whatever the things which you're looking into Workday, the thing which you're doing in the Workday, I would say that you try to create, requirement by yourself. Okay, and then
Mm-hmm.
you deep dive into the requirement, you implement the requirement in the tenant, and you note down each and every step. So when you are explaining those things to anyone, okay, it should be a very detailed explanation, and it should not be that detailed, like you're spending 15 minutes in explaining one solution. It's not be like that, but at least that explanation should be very convincing. You should know, like, the other person who is listening, he is attentive, he's not getting bored, of what you're saying and all. So just create that environment in the interview, and then nobody can reject you. Okay, it's that simple. Now, unless they have and some other limitation, if they have a budget of 20 lakhs, if you ask 30 lakhs, definitely they're going to reject you. But you need to you can understand based on job description, and you can ask those things earlier as well, right? So whatever you are explaining, explain well. Now the next question is, tell me about a core connector EIB studio that you have created. EIB, you will be able to explain. Core connector, you will be able to explain. You just have to work on one studio integration, one studio or two studio integration, then it will be all right. Okay. Then what is the difference between core connector EIB and studio? Now you know what is the difference between core connector EIB and studio, and you have documentation as well. If you read the document, then you will speak. Okay, one more thing, I would like to, give advice, guys. See, now the world has changed. Okay. Earlier, in schools, in colleges, what was happening? If there is a question, you have to write a bookish language. Okay. I mean, you have to write the exact definition to get the marks. Okay. Now the world has changed. Now the world has become more practical. Okay. Instead of putting a exact workday definition, try to put by creating one scenario and try to explain, what exactly that means is. Okay. When someone is asking workday, do not just remember the definition of workday. Explain what workday really is. Okay. What it is doing, how it is impacting in ERP space. Okay. So explain in that way. When you say something, it should be presented like, you are glorifying anything. Okay. You're glorifying that thing. It should not be like, it's just a product, I'm just using this product. This is for this thing, that thing. It's not like that, the other people should be interested in a way like, okay, I mean, when you glorify this workday, then it will be like, okay, how much knowledge this person is having. Okay. And then, it will give a very good impression of your knowledge as well. Like, this person is really enthusiastic. And then also you can mention a lot of things like, you have used workday and you see a lot of problems. Like there are some problems you are experiencing, and you can mention like, workday should improvise these things. Okay. And also you can say like you have raised some sort of brainstorm in the community and all those things. So that workday should consider this changes, and workday should enhance this. And all these things are happening in real. Workday has given us product. We as a customer company, we are also asking Workday to give us more. Workday is considering our points. They are enhancing their product. They are creating new things, new features in their product. Okay. So when you explain, it should be like the vibe should be like, you're very enthusiastic. Okay. Like the way I am talking right now, it's like, I am promoting Workday. I'm not promoting Workday. Okay. I'm just telling you guys, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but it feels like, I am promoting Workday. So basically now you understand the confidence level, right?
yes,
What exactly I'm talking about.
yeah, yeah, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Mm.
So that's one. Then how do you convert the file format of Core Connect and Studio output? Do they use the same process, different process? In Studio, see, in Studio, we have some components which used to convert the file. Also, we can write XSLT in Studio as well. For Core Connector, it's DT. Basically, you're converting via DT. Describe in detail your experience with payroll interface. You don't mention this. They will kill you. Describe in detail your experience with field mapping and Workday report designing and builder. Hmm. Experience field mapping and Workday report designing and builder. This question itself is meaningless, but not I didn't understand what exactly this question means is they're not going to ask this kind of questions now. Tell me about conversion and mapping data elements from two Workday data sources. You need to ask them the scenarios for this one as well. I don't know who created these questions. How did you migrate integration between tenants? Okay. Now see, this is something in your document. If you will see, there is a aux tool. Okay. You will find one aux tool from which, you migrate. But now aux 1 version 1 has been decommissioned. Okay. And to deploy changes from one to migrate changes from one tenant to another tenant, we have aux 2.0. Okay, so OX 2.0. OX 2.0 is a tool available in Workday which used to migrate objects from one tenant to another tenant. Okay, and I am explaining you the process. Remember this process because you will not be able to practice that in this tenant. Okay, but I am explaining you. This is just a verbal explanation, and just remember. So what happens
Can
is
you repeat once again?
OX 2.0, OX 2.0. It is a tool available in Workday which used to migrate Workday objects from one tenant to another tenant. Okay, so tenant as in Workday, we have implementation tenants, we have sandbox tenants, we have production tenants, we have preview tenants. Okay, now you need to understand how Workday works. Okay, so implementation tenants are tenants in which we used to build things, we used to create the objects. Okay, and implementation tenant, we create different version of implementation tenants. Let's say one of the implementation tenants we will be using to create things into Workday. The other implementation tenant we will be using to test the configurations in Workday. Okay. Once your build is completed, unit testing you're going to do in your build tenant implementation tenant. Now, once your build activities are completed, then you have to migrate those changes to the testing tenant. Okay. Now, to migrate those changes, you have to use aux 2.0 tool. Okay, it is available in Workday. Like when you click on related action of any report or any calculated field, there you will see one option instance. Okay, and in instance, when you will go, it will show you migrate using aux 2.0. Okay, migrate using aux 2.0. Now, the migration process is, let's say you have to, there are two implementation tenant. Um, tenant A is your build tenant, tenant B is your testing tenant. Okay. Now you have created your integrations in tenant A. Now testing is SIT is supposed to happen from tenant B. Okay. Now in this case, what you have to do is you have to migrate your configurations, your changes, your integrations from tenant A to tenant B. Okay. So, and for that one, you're going to use aux 2.0. Now, how aux 2.0 works? Okay. Right now, Workday has created a customer central. Okay, Workday has created a customer central. It is similar like the tenant which you have seen, Workday tenants. Okay, similar like Workday tenants only. We call that as a customer central. Now, when you have to migrate anything from one tenant to another tenant, then what you have to do is you have to migrate from implementation tenant to the customer central tenant first. Okay, that will be using aux 2.0. Okay, it's a third, it's another tenant. It's not implementation A and B. So basically you have to move the changes from your tenant to customer central tenant. There will be different credentials for customer central tenant and you will need migration access as well. Okay, now once you move the changes to customer central tenant, from customer central tenant you will be able to move the changes to any other tenant. Okay, so using Customer Central and aux 2.0, you migrated changes from tenant A to tenant B. Unit testing you did in tenant A, that is completed. SIT you have done in tenant B, that is also completed. Now you have to go for UAT. Okay, UAT generally happens with production data. Okay, so we have another tenant which is sandbox tenant. Okay, now what is sandbox? So sandbox is a tenant for Workday in which the data is refreshed every week. Okay, so every Friday US time, every Friday US night, or Saturday morning you can say, or Saturday in Saturday India time, sandbox tenant is used to refresh from production tenant. Okay, so every week sandbox will be having production data and UAT generally happens on production data. Okay. Now to proceed with UAT testing, you have to migrate your changes from tenant B, where SIT has completed, to sandbox. Okay. Again, to migrate the changes, same process. Use aux 2.0 tool. When you use, it will route you to the customer central tenant. You put the credentials from customer central tenant. You migrate the changes to sandbox. Okay. And when UAT testing is completed, follow the same process to migrate the changes into the production. Understood? It was a detailed explanation, but long explanation, but I hope you understood.
Yeah, so Ganesh. Ganesh, and also this sandbox and implementation is to, if requirement comes to create a new tunnel, is that possible for us or we need a text?
No, no, I mean, your voice is very low, Satish. Can you repeat?
Is the tenant creation is done by us or any other person?
Tenant creation.
Yeah, tenant creation.
No, no, tenant. You are not going to create any tenants and also. Basically, it's a workday, product owner, job. They are going. So basically, there will be one person who will be coordinating with Workday. Okay. If you have access, you can request. Okay. We have community where, people are having those kind of access. For example, I am having all the access. Okay. I can ask them to create a new tenant and, do all those things and all. But it's not my job. Why would I do that? I'm a Workday developer. I am just responsible for creating integrations, managing integrations. Okay. So if someone asks you this kind of questions, you mentioned like, no, you have not done that in the past because you have one specific person, who has to do this kind of job. Okay. You are just working on integration. So you had tenant access and you were working on the this kind of things only.
Okay, basically, we are integration consultants.
Basically we are integration consultant. Anything related to integration, we are going to deal with that.
Okay.
Okay. All good.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's couple of more questions, then maybe probably we will drop off. How would you describe your experience level with calculated field? Tell me about a complex calculated field that you have created. You can mention complex calculated field. You need to basically create one complex calculated field. But this is also a good question where you can spend some of the time in explaining the complexity of calculated field like ESI, EMI, and then you have to extract field from that ESI. I mean, there are a lot of things. Okay. So maybe in system right now in this tenant also there are a lot of calculated fields, complex calculated field. You can just pick one and explain. Okay. And experience level, if they ask you, I mean, that is something, you can explain by yourself, right? Like how much comfortable you are in a calculated field. Based on that, you can answer. Then describe the types of issues you deal with the integration during delivering, retrieving the files. During delivering, retrieving files, I mean, the issue is only if the server is not up and running from, from where you are retrieving the files on the server or the server on which you are delivering the files. Those are the key issues. Okay, where you cannot do anything. You can only send communication to the networking team. Like, this is something is not working. You have to check whether the server is up and running. If the server is not up and running, it's not going to work. Okay. And then other thing you can mention like encryption and decryption. Sometimes, the data you are receiving, during the retrieval, the encryption is not, the encryption is not done properly. And when your integration is trying to extract, you're not able to, retrieve the data. Okay. These are the things you can mention. How would you describe your experience level with XML, XSLT, XPath, and web service? Okay. This is something,
Very tough question.
no, it's not a tough question. It's a easy question. Okay. But web services is something I would say like, you will not understand, but XML, XSLT, XPath, now you understand, right? So XML, how it looks like you understand. XSLT, I mean, I have given you template. You need to practice that, then only you will feel the confidence. And XPath is just like, navigation of the values from XML, which you are configuring in the XSLT. Okay. So this is something, is a question of practice. You need to practice a lot to answer this question. And if the deep dive, otherwise you can say, okay, I mean, I am okay. I will be able to write the XSLT, whatever you give and all. If the deep dive into the scenarios, then you say, okay, this is something I'm not right. See, basically, one or two interview you will get, then you will understand by yourself. Okay. It's not like, I'm demoralizing you or, just boosting up your confidence. It's just your knowledge. Okay. You have to boost up your knowledge. Now tell me about the data type, primary business object, related business object that you have used most often. I mean, who is going to ask this kind of question now? But data types you can mention like, text, currency, true for Boolean, then single instance, multi-instance, all these things
Interference,
you can
yeah.
mention. Yeah, all these things you can mention. And in document, you will find very good definition of all those things. Tell me about ISU and ISSG. I hope this is something you will be able to answer.
Yes.
Explain the term benefits, compensation, time. These are the modules of Workday.
Mm.
This question is not good. Term benefits, compensation. I think this person was very basic person in Workday. So that's why in the initial phase he has mentioned this thing. I mean, nowadays why would anyone ask this? These are the modules basically, and he's asking to explain the term. But if someone asks you this kind of question, then you can mention, because here they have mentioned a lot of topic, right? So basically you have got a benefit here, advantage here. If they ask you this kind of question, explain everything. We have a benefit module, where we used to track this blah blah blah. We have a compensation module where we used to track the allowances, salaries of employees and all. We have a module where time tracking, where user can submit time sheet into the workday. We have
Yeah.
absence manager where user can apply the leaves into the workday. So you can explain, this is something you
Mm.
can consider this as an opportunity in the interview.
Yes.
Then what are the limitations of EIB and core connector? Limitations of EIB and core connector. Okay. So limitations of EIB and core connector, this is something you will find in the document. See, EIB, I mean, there are a lot of, you can explain, like, you have a single data source. Let's say you have to extract data from multiple sources, and based on that, you have to, just put some validation and generate third file. You won't be able to do that in EIB. Right.
Mm.
So
Mm.
EIB is a type of integration tool where it's very simple. Like you have to extract data from one of the data source, and then you can just generate the output. Okay. So basically those are the EIBs. When you actually know the Workday Studio, okay, then you will be able to explain all these things. Like very, it's not like something I need to explain or I need to give you the answers. Automatically by default it will come in your mind. Okay. But anyways, I mean, limitations you can read and you can understand. You try to find the answer of this question by yourself, I would say, and you bring the answer on Tuesday or Thursday, and then I'm gonna add more. If I think I should be adding.